question, just final question. Do you think it matters whether the people who police a community should be of the same group? I have comfort when I see though Officer Williams and Hendricks in Overtown. I'm just, I feel, I really feel safe, and I know that I don't oftentimes feel the same way. I was stopped by an officer in Overtown. I had a new car, and I knew the car attracted them. If they weren't you. And I was saying, I wished I knew my officer friends, I wouldn't have sweated so bad. I really sweated when this officer stopped me right there on Third. And I gave him my credit card instead of my driver's license. That's just how disoriented.
Oh, Miss Woods, you were shaking.
I really was, because I had never been stopped, and I did all the right stuff. But I really knew that I was profiled. I was in a brand new BMW, and I said if I was a white woman, I wouldn't have been stopped, because I didn't do anything. I really didn't. I did nothing. And then he told me to go ahead after I said, I'm going to work here at the UN building. I live here in Brickell. And I made my voice just almost drop to a whisper so I could get to my office. So that's just me as an adult, managing life, and I could have been his mother, but I made it. And I just think that I don't know, and I just want to ask you, do you think it matters that the Black community is policed by the Black officers, or people who don't have that implicit bias? I just came off Amelia Island, an all-white island, white cops. It was, and I was just saying to my husband, just please stay the traffic. Don't go over the traffic. Now, I know, that's in my head and in my experience, but I'm just wondering, I can get along with anyone, but I'm wondering, is there some, experience that you may have to share that it works better when we are police? The Black police precinct is there, was there since the 40s. We police each other differently. So do you think it matters, whether it's same group that's protecting their own, so to speak? I know it's loaded.
Miss Williams, Miss Sergeant Hendricks, I don't think it matters.
It doesn't matter.
We have profiling, we have prejudice, and we have racist. Okay. When you get profiled, you say you were profiled.
I was.
And then we become prejudiced at thoughts. Like a lot of people in Overtown, they want their own kind to police them. So they prejudge a situation, but however, that police that respond, I had the response that they thought, and it'd be of a color,
right? Because
it's just the way, a tone. I experienced a big transition becoming from police to sergeant, and I respond to a lot of, I want to speak to the sergeant, and I in turn may say the same exact thing that an officer, whether it was a colored officer or officer of the other race. It depends on who I'm speaking to, and I said the same thing, but it was like, see, the way you said it, you delivered the message differently. And I'm like, but I said the same exact thing. So I think that comes with, I don't think people are racist in that sense. I think they're prejudiced. They already prejudged the person that approached them, and they don't want that officer's approach. So I from police, on the policing side, and you asking us about, because we're the police, you think the response is different. I don't.
Okay.
I agree with that. Prior to coming here, I worked Model City, Liberty City, and for the most part, I stopped Black people. Cars that I stopped were Black drivers, and I got it the worst from some of those people. Unfortunately, and some of the negative things that they said. Okay. I don't think it really matters.
Okay.
So and this is great, right? Because we have an African American Black male who's telling you that he stopped another African American Black male, and he still caught heat or flack for doing his job. But if we really think about this, Miss Woods, and I respect your opinion and how you view things. But imagine an officer who probably was raised in Little Havana or Alapata, who grew up with African American friends or island Black friends, and people of different cultures, but just because of the color of his skin, he stops a Black male in a vehicle, and let's just say he's in a BMW. That officer is already going to have catch flack just because of the color of his skin. Now it's like we're going back to how we were treated, how our ancestors were treated, just because of the color of our skin. So I think we have to change this. We have to change our state of mind. We have to make a difference. Now, if we go and we revert to having Black officers to police our Black communities, how are we advancing? Because now we're saying anyone else who's not Black is going to treat me different, when that's not the case. And I'll even tell you, when I worked in Little Haiti, I remember we had Officer Willie Bell, Officer Pete Reynolds. These were officers that were known throughout Liberty City, they would call them the jump out boys, right? But it's because they were doing their job. Mm-hmm. In Little Haiti, when Zopound was wreaking havoc with machetes and high-powered rifles, killing people because of a drug war, but these officers got a bad name for doing their job, and they were Black. So now if we turn around and give officers who are of a different race or ethnicity a hard time, we're not ever going to advance. And two, I can't hinder an officer from wanting to move to another area. That's why we have the opportunity for bids. But if you look at it, an officer who's been on 20, 25 years may not want to work in Overtown anymore. They may want to work in another area. They may want to work in Brickell. They may want to work in Little Haiti. So we can't stop that. We have to afford everyone the opportunity to have the days off that they want, the shift that they want.
And I know, Dana.
Yes. I kind of experienced what Ms. Woods experienced actually in January. And I don't really care what officer works, as long as you're professional, you're doing your job, and you understand your job. But the officer actually that stopped me, it's like he had a little attitude, like he had too much, he had salt in his coffee that morning. Pulled me over and said that I was going over the school zone speed limit. And I'm explaining to him, look, I know the speed limit over here. I was a part of the people that actually had them put in the signs to stop the speeders from coming up 7th Avenue going east to 3rd. And he was like, oh no, you were doing this, you were doing. I'm like, officer, I was not doing that. I was not going. He said I was going 21 miles per hour in a 15 mile an hour zone. Now, I was doing 13, and I'm gonna stick by that. But he wrote me a ticket for 21 mile an hour. I'm like, okay, all right, officer, okay. And then he wrote the ticket, but instead of just like give me a warning or so on and so forth, he was just like so fast to write a ticket. And then when I looked at his badge and I, said, okay, officer such and such, I'm not going to say his name. It's like he had an attitude, and I'm like, if he was that tested that morning over me going back and forth with him about the speed limit, how would he react if it was a hostile person that want to just be just outright arguing with him? I just feel that he needs more training on how to deal with the public and dealing with situations such as that, and I mean, I'm still a little teed about it, and this was in January, and I have officers throughout my family, even FBI agents. I love speaking with law enforcement and getting their take on how to deal with certain situations, or how to handle things better. But when I met that particular officer that morning, I felt that he was like showing off because it was 3 other officers that was sitting on the corner by the Gibson Charter School. It's like he had to prove a point.
Okay.
And yes, in the car that I drive, yes, there's no other one in the area like that. And I felt that I was profiled that morning of being pulled over, And I don't think I see him as often in the area. But I know if I see him, I probably would give him a side eye. But I'll say, if I see Officer Williams or Officer Pratt, hey, how y'all doing? I have a conversation with them. But I just feel that I don't really want to talk with him because, just that one encounter with the attitude that morning, and you're working in a neighborhood that I grew up and take pride in, how are you to help us with the issues that we have? I don't think I would want to call the police knowing that he may be the one that's called out for a situation that I need to have quelled. He may not be the one that I would want to see.
Thank you.
And that's bad.
Okay.
So maybe we can coordinate a conversation between you and Ms. Joseph at a later date so we can hash out that
Yes.
because the officer might still be around. So it might be a conversation with a superior officer to make sure that they are aware of the full situation and how it felt, and then they can have that discussion with the officer.
Yeah, and to be let it known that Florida Department of Transportation and so on, whichever ones that do the speed limit, it is 20 miles an hour. The signs have not been changed yet.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that, but I'm going to argue that I was doing 13 miles an hour. But I got the ticket for 21, which makes me believe that he knows the speed limit as well.